Hello everyone, welcome to Winged Horse Designs. I'm Donna Goodwin. I'm a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator located in Brookings, South Dakota. Today's video is all about triple stamping. So I have two different cards to show you with some triple stamping. So I'm going to switch cameras and we're going to go ahead and get started. Okay, here's a little bit better view. So this card is using the traditional pyramid style triple stamping where you're just layering your layers up like they were a pyramid. And you can use any type of measurements you want. I made mine pretty wide because I really wanted the leaves to really stand out on this card. And then this one, I changed it up. One, I switched it landscape, yes, but I switched them. I put one going vertical and the other panel kind of going horizontal. So they don't have to be in a pyramid shape. They can be in any shape you want. And it's really fast and easy to do these. So let's start with the leaf card. And the measurements for both these cards are in the description, so you won't need to write those down. I'm going to set this up here in the corner. And for this card, I'm going to use Nature's Prints. It's a stamp set that's been around for a while. I'm just going to use this big leaf here, and I really liked on the inside, I just simply said a heartfelt thank you. I really enjoy that. You always need thank you cards. So I'm going to add two stamp colors today. Gorgeous Grape for the sentiment on the inside and for all this splatter that you see, and then Lost Lagoon for the leaf. And then we're just going to finish it off with this really pretty gold, Simply Elegant trim. So the measurements, like I said, are in the description. The measurements for this one are called Triple Nature card. We're starting with a standard card base, and I'm using Gorgeous Grape that measures 5.5 inches by 8.5 inches, scored in the middle at 4 1/4. So I'm going to give that a fold and give it a good crease with my bone folder. And set this aside. And then you can do all of these mats in the same color, or you can change them up. I opted to change the one for the top piece to a different to the same color as the base, just to give it a little more interest. So this piece measures 1 3/8 by 2 5/8. But just remember that all these mats are just a smidge larger than the pieces that are being stamped. For the inside, a piece that measures 4 inches by 5 1/4 inches. The pieces we're going to stamp on, one that measures 3 3/4 inches by 5 inches, one that measures 2.5 inches by 3 3/4 inches, and one that measures 1 1/4 inches by 2.5 inches. And since I chose to do these two mats in a different color, this one measures 3 7/8, just a smidge larger than the 3 3/4 by 5 1/8, and then this one measures 2 5/8 by 3 7/8. So I'm going to set all of this aside and we'll start on our stamping. So the first thing you want to do is take a little bit of double-sided tape and just put a tiny bit of adhesive on the back. Just to use it to tack it down. So I'm going to, since this one's the traditional pyramid style, I'm going to line this up as close as I can to the middle of that cardstock. And then we're going to do the same thing with the other one. And you could do this in basic white or very vanilla. I thought I'd do very vanilla just to soften it up a bit. So you have these layered up. And then we're going to take and we're going to stamp these. So I'm going to ink up. And we're going to stamp all 3 layers at the same time, hence triple stamping. You could do this with just 2 layers if you want. And at the end of the video, I will have a link for you, and there's a link in the description as well, where you can go see a card that I did way back in January doing double stamping. So I just used 2 layers. So I'm just simply going to stamp along all 3 layers. It's important to put plenty of pressure where these 2 different layers of cardstock meet, where those layers meet. So I'm going to give it some really good pressure. Focusing on where these cardstock pieces meet. And you're going to see that there's a little bit of a gap here. That's where our mats come in. When we mat this up, you're not going to be able to tell at all. So I'm going to go ahead and repeat that 2 more times. Depending on what type of image you're doing, you may do it several times or just one time. It just depends on what you're doing. I think I'll go a little more straight. Again, I'm going to put plenty of pressure on that, focusing on where these card pieces meet. I know there's going to be a little bit of gap, but I do want to minimize that gap bit. And I'm going to come in with a little bit more right up in this top left corner. And I should be a little more careful and make sure that I don't have any ink on the edge, but I'm going to live dangerously today. And then I would stamp off to do my inside and stamp my greeting in Gorgeous Grape, which I've already done this ahead of time. I stamped off twice before stamping this one on, so you can see it's much lighter than the other one. But that stamping is done. So now that we have this part done, in order to take these pieces apart, you don't want to peel it this way. Let's see if I can do this a little bit. You don't want to peel it apart this way because that'll bend your cardstock. So what we're going to do is we're just going to leave them flat and twist them. That will break that bond. And we'll do it again. We'll just twist it to break that bond. And now we're going to layer these up into our cardstock layers. I'm going to put this open ink pad away before I stick my fingers in it. And we're going to come in with our mats. And we're just going to start working these together. So now we can use all the adhesive that we want on the back. Now you can do this a couple of ways. You can mat these and then layer those mats up with dimensionals. I went ahead and left mine flat just to make it a little bit easier to go through the mail. This is the first week of the month, so Stampin' Up! Has a lot of specials happening. And I'm only going to talk about one today in today's video and save the rest for Monday. And the reason I'm going to talk about only one is because that one does end in a few hours. So if you haven't already had a chance to take advantage of that and you're interested, I want to make sure you get a chance to take advantage of that. So let me glue this down and I will tell you what that special is. So there's our pieces and we'll put those together in a second. A few hours left on Paper Pumpkin. If you are currently a Paper Pumpkin subscriber, for the next till the like 11:59 p.m. Mountain Time, you can get 50% off on past kits and past refills. So that is a great deal for Paper Pumpkin. If you're not familiar with Paper Pumpkin, it comes once a month. It's a subscription. Oops. Once a month, it's a subscription. It comes in this nice little box, perfect for traveling if you happen to be going somewhere. And inside, each month is different. You get a stamp set. You get a baby ink pad. It's about 1 inch by 1 inch. You get all the adhesives and embellishments. You get all the specialty adhesives like dimensionals. You get written color directions. This one happens to be from January, but they give you written directions. And then you have all of, if it's cards, you have all of the envelopes and pre-printed pieces that you need, as well as the pieces you need to stamp on. So everything you need to make whatever that kit is. And if it's cards, it's usually 6 to 9 cards. And sometimes it's little treat boxes, but everything you need comes in this little box, except for the block. So that's a great way to stamp if you don't want to have to design your own, or if you're traveling but you still want to be able to stamp, or maybe you just have really limited space where you live and you don't have the space to store all these massive amounts of pieces or maybe you're just new. So now we can sit here and we can try to line this all up. So I'm just kind of getting it lined up so that it looks like it was there. And you can see now that the mat covered up where those gaps are. So it's just a great way to add more interest to add some interest to a card without adding a great deal of time. Now, one thing I did forget to do before I put these layers together was my splatter. I don't care if I get splatter on this piece, so I'm going to bring in some scrap paper. Okay, I'm going to bring in a real big piece of grid paper. And I'm going to do these splatters. Now I have some gorgeous grape ink on a block. And I could use an aqua painter, or in this case, I'm going to use a Wink of Stella pen. It all wants to stick together here. And I'm just going to drop a bit of the Wink of Stella glitter right into the ink. I should be shaking it to distribute that glitter inside there. It's just glitter suspended in alcohol. And sometimes you got to give it a little bit harder. It's getting a little bit dry here. Might be getting close to being empty, and so sometimes you have to squeeze it a little bit harder. All right, sometimes I have to squeeze it really hard. And then we're just going to pick this up so that we have some shiny, glittery purple. And you can use your finger, or you can just tap it with something, a pencil or something. And I'm just going to add some splatters to that. Put a few more down there. And that also kind of breaks up that ivory a little bit. Then I'll clean this after we're done. But you can just keep reusing this. So this one's been drying for about 2 days. And we'll continue with our card. I've already tied this bow. Sometimes it can be a little tough to get the Simply Elegant trim to tie because it's kind of slippery, but I've already tied it. I'm just going to take, and this is a glue dot from one of those paper pumpkins, and I'm just going to take the backing off, and then I'm going to roll this up in a little ball. And use that little bitty tiny glue dot to hold my trim in on my card. And there you have a pyramid style triple stamping card. So let's move on to the next one. Oh, forgot to glue that inside. I'll do that later. So the next one is with the Cheerful Daisies. And this one, it comes as a bundle. You can purchase it as a bundle, or you can purchase it individually as just the stamp set. But I just like it. It's 2-step stamping. if you choose to do that. We're not going to do two-step stamping today. I'm just simply going to do the one design. I am sort of going to do two-step, but I'm not going to add in the detail on top of these, and I'm not going to cut these out. And then I'm choosing Wishing You, where'd the card go? I chose to use Wishing You the Brightest Birthday. But it also, if you choose the bundle, comes with all these dies. So you have one that creates a label if you want. You've got the ferny type of leaf, but you have these different pieces that you can really bundle in. And if you look at through some of my videos, you'll find lots of cards done with the cheerful daisies. So I'm going to move that aside. It's probably one of my favorite stamps, sets and bundles. So for ink on this one, I chose Bubble Bath, Garden Green, and Lemon Lolly. And then our little tie here, or our little knot, is these ribbons come 3 in a pack, so it's only 5 yards instead of 10. But it's Bubble Bath, Azure Afternoon, and Lemon Lolly, and I chose to use the Bubble Bath. And I already have one tied just in case I need it. And then the card pieces for this will be in the description. Measurements are in the description underneath. Triple Daisy birthday cards. This time I opted to go as a book fold. So this one measures 4 1/4 inches by 11 inches, scored in half at 5 1/2 inches. I'm going to give this another really good crease and set it aside. For the inside, 4 inches by 5 1/4 inches. Already stamped for you. And then for these pieces, I went with 3 3/4 inches by 5, 2 by 3, and 1 by 2 1/2. Well, we're going to spin this and rotate it, and then all the mats are the same color, and they're just a smidge larger. We're going to rotate this one this way, and we're going to lay this one in this way. So rather than setting them up in pyramid style, we're going to rotate them and mix them up a bit. And we're going to do the same thing. We're going to take a little bit of adhesive just to hold them in place while we're stamping. And let's layer it. Let's layer it this way. I am using the right piece, aren't I? I am. Okay. And this is a photopolymer set, so I need my foam mat. And I'm actually going to lay this down. And I've already cut some masks from Post-it notes. These are the all over sticky notes because we're going to do some masking on this as well. So let's start with our bubble bath. And our large daisy. And I'm going to put the large daisy down here. And again, push really hard, especially where those seams are. You can see it a little bit better on this card than you could the other one, but you can really see where the seams are there. And then I'm going to mask this before I put on here comes the hardest part, lining up the mask. I think that's about right. Before I stamp a few more. So now we're not only dealing with the cardstock layers, but we're also dealing with this thin paper layer as well. So I'm actually putting quite a bit of pressure on here. I'm going to put another mask on this one. I think that's about where it is. And we're going to do another, I think I'll go this way. I'm going to go ahead and put, excuse me, I'm going to go ahead and put another mask on top of this one and do the leaves. And I'm going to stamp the leaves in garden green. So I'm going to stamp one in full strength, ink it up, and stamp it off. Put a mask on top of that one, and put another leaf in behind it. And again, I'm pushing really hard to get those access pieces. Now I need to realign this side of these, or just make sure that I have them kind of lined up. If I had done a better job of trimming these, I actually cut these out with the matching dies, but if I had trimmed them and cut them, to match, then I wouldn't be doing that. Then I could just do this once and be done with it. So let's put another leaf right in this gap here. Again, pushing pretty hard to get through all of that. And a couple down here in the bottom. Now I'm re-inking before I stamp off, simply because sometimes you have marks where it touched something harder than it did something else. And I'm just going to make sure I get all this ink off the edge so that I don't get ink where I don't want it. And I'm going to put another one down. And then I'm going to shift this mat again. Like I said, sometimes the hard part's finding how it matches up. Now I think that's probably pretty close. Come back to the pink and add some more, because I'm just trying to create a spray of flowers coming down the left side and along the bottom. Push hard, move this mat down to here. Add another flower. I think we'll go this way. I'm going to bring this one down. And do our leaves. And all we're doing, when you stamp it the first time, whatever you stamped before you put the mat on, that becomes the front of the image, and everything else that you stamp after that goes behind. That's the effect that we're after. And we're going to have that dark leaf in the front and the pale leaf in the back. And again, I'm going to get rid of all this ink I have on the edge of the block so I don't end up with some halos that I don't want. We'll peel all these masks off and come back in and add our centers, our yellow centers to our flowers. So we're doing this card exactly the way we did the other one. We're just aligning it differently and using different colors. And again, I'm pushing hard where they match. That's why you need to be careful not to have too much ink. Too much ink around the edges. Normally you wouldn't push this hard and that wouldn't become an issue. All we need is our sentiment. Of course, I put the green away, so I'll have to pull it back. Let me see if I can get this in here without sticking my big head in the camera. So there's the other one, all stamped. So it's stamped just like you normally would the front of a card, but now when we take it apart and put the mats in, that will give us, hide all those gaps that we have. Now I did stamp pretty hard with that mat, so there's not quite as many gaps as there might normally be. If you're enjoying this content and the videos that I do, please do like, comment, and share. I love reading your comments. And it also helps, whether you're watching on YouTube or Facebook, it helps both of those platforms realize that maybe other people might enjoy this content as well. So we're going to line that up again the way it was. This time I'm focusing on the leaves, but I'm focusing mainly on the centers of these flowers. And so I got the same thing on this one that I had on this card. I still have a pretty big gap here, and it's pretty obvious. That's where a bow becomes our rescue. So first, let's go ahead and put this on its mat. Oops. Put it on the front of our card, and then we'll put our bow on it. Now, because of this, actually I'm calling it a bow, it's more of a knot. Because of the knot, you're probably going to need extra postage for a card like this, just like you would if you put some of the larger embellishments on it. So this is a much bigger piece of ribbon and easier, so I'm going to use the bigger glue dots. And I'm just simply going to, I've already just tied this in a loose knot. And we'll just stick this nice little loose knot right on that edge. And it covers up that gap where we had quite a bit of gap, and you don't even see that. So there's the daisy card. And here's the fern card. So traditional pyramid style stamping and staggering your layers, doing them a little bit differently each time. So let's see if I can do this here. Requires being able to find your mouse and move your mouse around. So I hope you enjoyed those cards. I did take Monday off, but I'll be back this next Monday, back on schedule as normal. And I am going to show you through a live on Monday at 2 p.m. Central Time, a couple different ways to use Versamark, or what I like to call the Wonder Ink, the magic ink. So I hope you'll come back and join me on Monday for that. In the meantime, you can, wrong way. You could click over here and this will show you, send you on a link to a double stamped card. So rather than 3 layers, only used 2 layers. So have a wonderful weekend, everyone, and I will see you on Monday. Happy trails.